It's phone booth fighting, and we are on the road. Once again, Frank, we're in the Prius. We're headed to Los Angeles. So we appreciate you, LA, and we are headed your way. We're going to be in LA here in, I don't know, a little under 2 hours. We're going to Fighter and the Kid. We're going to do Brendan Schaub and Bryan Callen's Blockbuster podcast. I tell you what, these days it doesn't get much bigger than Fighter and the Kid in the sports podcasting world, and so this will be our sophomore appearance there.
Oh man, back in the Fighter and Kid studio. Bryan Callen died of old age, guys. I hate to break the news. No, just kidding. He's shooting the Goldbergs. He wishes he could be here, but today I'm joined by the stars, the dynamic duo of the Phone Booth Fighting podcast, Frank Mir and Richard Hunter. Guys, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us,
Brendan.
Yeah,
you guys, especially Frank, there's a lot of guys who we have on, and then we're like, we're good for a while. For a year, we're good. You're a guy, whenever you want on, you're on, man.
Cool, man.
It's you and Chael are really the only fighters I will have on. I could have you guys on every Wednesday.
That's a good company to be in.
Yeah, right?
Chael's good, too.
Yeah, Chael's a beast.
Yeah. And you can't sit there. And that's why, like, I would never talk shit about a guy I was fighting in a way that I couldn't articulate. Like, for example, I remember it was right before I fought Czech Congo. And he just fucking hated me. He was so irritated.
He turned his back to you at weigh-ins?
Yeah, so irritated. Because, again, when it came to breaking down the fights, I'm like, all right, what am I going to say about my guy? Oh, he's shitty on the ground. Right?
Correct.
But I wasn't off. And then afterwards, when he got really mad, I'm like, wait a minute. You're upset? Like, it wasn't like I said you got shitty stand-up or you got a gut. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't make something up that's like, well, what the fuck are you talking about?
That's why you got so mad, because it's true.
Yeah, I was like, if we all had a jiu-jitsu competition right now, all the heavyweights, we just did a tournament.
You're dead last.
You and Pat Barry are struggling for last place. It might look like two guys fighting over a bar of soap.
If this is dodgeball of jiu-jitsu, you guys are going to pick dead last. Matter of fact, they're going to force you to be on my team. It's so true, though.
Like, yeah.
And then you just blast him with that overhand. He's rocked and he submitted him. Yeah.
Put him to sleep. That was a good night.
Usually I just text you, but I saw how you asked for a release from the UFC because USADA suspended you, correct?
Right. Well, UFC suspended me.
Okay. Explain.
Well, basically, USADA is not an athletic commission. So, UFC is basically who I'm suspended by. If right now you go under the commissions, I don't have a suspension by a commission.
So you could fight in California, Nevada, wherever?
Yeah, I have no suspension by a commission. So, and because, I want to go into more detail about it, but Malky and the lawyer are like, hold off right now.
That's fair.
Because of some of the testing, and Tokyo Lab has been shown to be inadequate. And, it's like, well, I have a case now. It's like, we'll slow down and we're going to build up in our different areas. It's like, well, this isn't even like a legitimate thing. It's such a, you can see a fallacy in this procedure. I'm like, well, the easiest way to do it is let me just jump the system. Let me just get out of it and go compete. I mean, I'm 37.
So if you got out of your UFC contract, you could go sign with Bellator. Anyone can compete wherever you want.
Yep.
That's interesting.
See, the fight was also in Australia, so there's no state athletic commission.
Just like when John and like Brock got in trouble when they fought UFC 200, right?
Yes, both.
So they have to deal with USADA, UFC suspension there. Then they still have to deal with Nevada Athletic Commission.
Because it's Nevada.
Right.
And you're in Australia. So it's just the UFC. UFC could be like, yeah, we're not spending him in America. Like, he can still fight here.
If they decide to say that, yeah.
They pretty much do it.
So you wanted your release just so you could fight.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the actual UFC business of the UFC, just because they weren't allowing you to fight.
Yeah, basically.
And when you asked for your release, what'd they say? You didn't hear anything?
No.
You're too big of a name for them to let you go.
I think so.
No, I just told you, brother. I'm telling you. Yeah,
I think you're a victim of your own success, right?
Because they're like, no, why would let him go? He's just going to go to Bellator and be champ in 2 days. When's their next fight? He'll be champ. So they're basically just holding on, and you're suspended for how long by USADA?
Until April of 2018.
Okay, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long, especially, you're not a young chicken.
Nope. I'll be 39 when I get back.
But you're see, this is my thing. I understand business. I understand letting Frank Mir go is a big deal. You come with a lot of credibility. Just as from human to human, if you call, and you and Joe Silva have a history, you and Dana have a history. Like I said, in Vegas at the UFC offices, there should be a statue of Frank Mir. I've said this before, but what you've done for the organization, how long you fought, who you fought, the way you've beat guys, how long you've been in this fucking thing. There should be some sort of human to human connection where you go, Joe, listen, brother, I get what you guys are doing. I know you don't want me to go over here. I'm like getting younger, man. I got to fight. Like I need to make this money. And if you guys are going to hold this up, you got to let me go, man.
Yeah.
Like verbatim, where's that come into play?
I don't know. I've
you know what I'm saying? Like, well, because if you guys
right before I got inducted into the Nevada Hall of Fame, right? I'm the only UFC fighter to make it. You know, they're Mike Tyson, Andre Agassi.
There you go.
You know, I'm in there with that group.
Yeah, I don't say Andre Agassi.
And so about 2 weeks before, I had already called Dana and Lorenzo trying to, you know, get a face-to-face and conversation, never got a return call. So then I'm like, oh. So then I called the office. I called Reed trying to get a hold of Dana. I'm like, all right, well, here's a good excuse. Like, you're going to have to talk to me.
Coming to the Hall of Fame, for God's sake.
Coming to the Hall of Fame. You guys aren't going to be there? So I even was in like, well, I'll make it to where, you know, Dana, why don't you introduce me to the Hall of Fame? Because this is kind of a group venture.
Groundbreaking.
UFC, and then wouldn't it be better to have the guy who represents the UFC? I'm the first fighter. So I thought, it was a good idea on all levels outside of even the fact
Great marketing on their take.
Yeah, you would think, right? So I got a phone call back, not from Dana again, but being told that, no, he's going to be out of town that week. And I'm like, you guys know I've been going to the Hall of Fame for like 4 or 5 months. You called me in the office, videotaped my reaction to it. You guys have business that day? It's not like it's on a fight card. Like, what happened here?
Even one of the Fertittas, like Lorenzo, would show up.
Nope. It was in Vegas. Didn't get any of them.
See, this is, man, that bums me out. This is the problem, because that's where an ego comes into play, because what you've given up for that organization and for the heavyweight division, you're in the Hall of Fame, man. Name the next guy who's going to the Nevada State Hall of Fame. Go. Fucking go. Name a fighter.
No, not from
none, man. From Vegas. What are we talking about?
So, I guess when I turn 39, I'll be fighting again.
Look forward to that.
A lot of podcasting to do between now and then.
It's good for you, right?
Well, that's why, though. Honestly, I didn't think I was even allowed to do grappling competitions, and then I see John and them do grappling.
For sure, you are.
I'm like, wait a minute, we can grapple too. Like, we can.
Yeah. I'd even at the time, especially, I was ranked, I think, 12 or a 13th in the world. I didn't even ask him to do I was the first UFC fighter to ever do something like Metamoris. I didn't even ask him. I just did it. And then,
so how does that work?
And they were like, hey, man. I was like, it's tomorrow. I'm sorry. And then they're like, from now on, you got to talk to us.
Oh, they do want you to ask them?
Yeah, they're just like, we'd like approval. But in your situation, I'm sure you could just grapple till your fucking nuts fall off.
Yeah, so starting next year, I'm going to start doing that more.
Are you and where would you do something like Chaels? Like, did you see? So Chael does the Submission Underground.
Yeah.
So he had John Jones and Dan Henderson and Misha Tate and Jessica I on there. Would you do something like that, or would you do more like Eddie Bravo? Have you seen his rules?
Yeah, I've been down there too. Both. I pretty much at that point would just pick competitions to go to compete. One, to keep my edge again, be competitive, and then two, just it's a way to make a means why I'm not fighting. So financial would be a driven factor.
I like it, man. It actually, with you competing, helped the podcast too, because you talk about all that stuff and the training and stuff like that, and you'd be obviously a nightmare for guys to deal with.
Well, one of our most listened to episodes was the day that the whole USADA thing happened.
For sure.
Because Frank called me and told me, what had happened, the report he was getting back and all this kind of stuff. Nobody knew about it yet. And I said, well, I remember because I was driving out to the brothel. I turned around, came back. I said,
we gotta get to that after this. By the way,
I said,
he just sent me a text. I don't mean to interrupt. Yeah. He sent me a text. He goes, "Hey man," he said brothel. I'm like, the fuck is he talking about? And then he was like, "Yeah, you don't know my other side gig?" I'm like, sure didn't. I sure as fuck didn't. I saw you're a radio comedian host with Frank. I didn't know you did that.
Nope,
but keep going.
Job.
Yeah. So I was headed out to the brothel out in the desert, and he calls me. So I said, well, here's what I think I do. I said, let me turn around right now. I'm gonna come over to your house. We're gonna set the recorder in the middle of the table, and you and I are just gonna talk about this until you've said everything you can think of to say about it. And we did, and it lasted. It's probably a 2-hour episode. episode, just the two of us talking, and it is a completely unedited piece of audio.
Has to be.
Right? Yeah.
But you, Frank, you can't talk about exactly what happened, right? Like, because I don't know if you guys, did you hear John Jones on Joe Rogan? We was talking about the tainted supplements and all that stuff.
We went back, and in fact, they're still testing different supplements that I've taken and stuff. And
you're with, sorry to interrupt you, you're with Malky?
Yeah.
Who's John Jones' agent as well. There you go.
So they're still testing through this stuff. That's why I don't try to make something up. I'm not trying to sit there and go, I took some supplement that was tainted. Like when I came about that they found this metabolite that could be the derivative of a compound that I could have taken. My thing is, I don't know how it got there. You know what I mean? Like they keep sitting there going, well,
what do you want me to say?
Yeah, like
I could make up some crazy story if you want.
Like, you know, I mean, I wish I could point to a supplement and go, well, it was that, and just give me time served, but that's just not the case. You know what I mean? Like I don't have an answer for you on where this metabolite in my system came from, except for it's like, you know, I always keep pointing back to just the logical. It's like, it's kind of like evidence in a court case. We can present evidence, but then there's also the human factor where we talk about motive. I'm like, guys, you know that I got paid the same whether I won or lost against Mark Coleman or Mark Hunt.
I wish it was Mark Coleman.
Yeah. So no incentive there.
Sure.
He was ranked 9th. I was ranked 10th. None of those getting a title shot right afterwards. Mm-hmm. No incentive there. Whatever I took, obviously, if I was trying to take something to alter how I looked, I didn't look any different. You know what I mean? I didn't perform any different.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep pointing out to things. And then when they sat there, like, well, you came and randomly drug tested me, you know, 6 weeks before. Yeah. Nothing there. No. We were having this conversation at my kitchen table. I'm like, so
when would I have taken this stuff?
That was my thing. I was like, when did I take it? You know, like, well, you could have taken it directly after that because it can metabolize anyway. You know, it takes 6 weeks to get out of your system. I'm like, and so when you found this in my system, it's at low levels. Yes. So I took a drug for a couple days after you guys tested me, thinking I could get away with it. Yeah, but a cool Google search will show that this could still be in my system. Yep. Do I come off as a stupid person?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it wasn't like this.
And you know it's random. Like every fighter knows.
Come back 4 or 5 days later.
They could came back that night. They could came back that morning.
And the other thing too, it's like it's a brand new drug where someone told me like, hey, you know, this is just out of, you know, such and such Olympic, you know, guys are using this. It's ahead of the spectrum. It's
not like a designer drug.
Yeah, no one can test for it. I'm like, this drug was invented in the 1950s. It's like, fucking been around, man.
Been around, man.
You know, it's ran its course, you know. So again, like I'm looking at it like, well, we don't know. I'm like, but that was the thing that kind of came frustrating.
That doesn't work for me.
USADA is not in the business of trying to help us as fighters. They're in the business of just catching fighters to justify their existence.
By any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
You know, before I knew any fighters, was around fighters, that sort of thing, I had this idea that when you're training for a fight, that there's like a chemist and a nutritionist standing over you 24/7, you know, like a beef eater, like looking at everything you eat before you ingest it.
You'd be cracked. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it depends what camp you go to.
Well, yeah, but I mean that even at the lowest level, that would not even take into account how much all that would cost and that sort of thing. So the reality becomes, you realize that no, a lot of times it's like everybody else's everyday life. I mean, you're going to a restaurant maybe, but you're not, excuse me, before I order this, where did this beef come from?
People sit there and go, well, come on, man, who doesn't think that way? But at least it happened before the first drug test, so that's why I didn't flag it as a system to be tested. But we were working out at the gym, and they have another company that shares the gym with us.
What gym is this?
Where Ricky Lindell was up by Real Water, right? And so they were doing something in the sauna, and they were using the sauna to do some kind of cleansing for the people. I had a little bit of a cold, so I was sitting there, and one of the girls goes, oh, here, it's some electrolytes. So I grabbed it. I grabbed the bottle, and I look at it, and it's FDA, you know, or not FDA, but, you know, just look at it like, it just says salt and, you know, magnesium. Yeah, whatever. I put it in my mouth, you know, no problem.
That bitch is drinking Winstrol.
But I mean... But
shredded.
According to USADA's mentality is that I'm automatically responsible for. I'm like, I mean, I read the bottle, but now knowing now that I've ran into this nightmare going back, that doesn't mean shit.
Nothing.
It doesn't mean anything. Like
you're still
you
accountable.
can read the bottle and look at it and go, there's nothing wrong in this bottle. Yeah, there is, because the FDA does not regulate the supplement company, so anything could be in there. Fuck, you don't know. And guess what? If you get busted, you get busted. And it's your fault for putting in your body. I'm like...
And your career's screwed.
What the fuck? Really? Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between a guy who accidentally becomes tainted by something, and you can look at levels in my body and see that, okay, we find a fucking metabolite,
But let's look at the rest of the numbers.
Yeah, look at my fucking blood profile. You blood drew me. Look at my whole profile. I mean,
give them the benefit of the doubt is what I'm saying.
You see a guy who's jacked up. I mean, there's obviously, I bet you if you get a guy who's on drugs, it's not going to just be a fucking metabolite in the system. You're going to be able to pull blood from him and go, holy shit, man, you have the growth hormone, testosterone of a fucking 18-year-old.
Yes.
How the fuck is that, man? You know, like, oh, I don't know.
Then I get it.
Yeah, it's like, and you have a fucking metabolite in your system. It's like, okay, you know, that's enough of a building of a case. But when you're like, well, you're fucking pretty much low at everything, and we have this metabolite. It's
the problem is guys go, what the fuck, man? Like, I think it was over. He was like, I ate a horse burger. And like, well, sir, your traps are coming from your ear to here. Yeah, right. He's like, I eat a lot of horse. It's like, well, that's the problem. Is you have some athletes go, all I did is drink this Gatorade from this. If you look at my stripper gave me a Gatorade.
Yeah. When I fought Mark Hunt, I think that's a strong case that I wasn't on drugs.
You have a good case, Frank. Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna win the Olympia, all right?
Yeah,
shredded.
I didn't look like Arnold, you know what I mean?
I wish you did, because I could just be like, well, excuse me, sir, you're shredded. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I had a six-pack of 265.
Yeah, I wish you did. I want to talk to you because we were talking about that story, and they're like, "Yeah, I was at my other gig, man." I'm like, "Other gig? Yeah, at the brothel," and I was like, "Oh, wait, save it for the show."
Oh, it's a source of entertainment for our show.
What the fuck are we talking about here? You work at a brothel?
Yes,
at the Bunny Ranch.
At the Love Ranch, which is owned by the guy who owns the Bunny Ranch. When Lamar Odom was there, we ran his black card for $75,000.
Hold the fuck up. So Lamar Odom, that's where he OD'd in this whole thing?
He saved him.
Fuck off.
He's the guy that swear to God.
Hold on. Lamar. So did you know Lamar Odom was checking in?
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, I'm coming through. And you guys are like, damn, Lamar Odom. And now the girl's like, God damn it, that 7-foot black dick. Or are they like, all right, let's get it?
No, they're happy.
They're happy because they know he's going to drop bang.
Yeah.
A guy like that, he's in a suite, and then does he pick out numerous girls?
Mm-hmm. So the way it works,
this is fascinating.
Yeah. So what we did in his case, all the girls went back to the house he was staying in, and they did basically like a private lineup back there, and he picked out 2 girls, but he could have picked as many as he wanted to.
And when you say he's there 3 days, so is he waking up? He's having breakfast there, lunch, dinner, or he's coming and going?
Oh yeah, no, he's there the whole time, and in fact,
do you guys have a full service kitchen and everything?
Yeah, there's a cook.
So he's having like eggs and bacon and shit. And he's like, hey, get Becky back here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a full kitchen back there.
Yeah, I'm fat, bro. Undercover fat man. I'm like, hold on, what kind of food are we talking here?
I didn't ask that question.
And then, did you guys hear a scream, or was a girl like, so he's not doing well?
So what happened was
Frank grinning.
It was about, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I hear one of the girls that he had been shacked up with screaming my name, coming running up the hallway. Richard, my God, come quick, you know. And I go out of the office, and she's like, something's happened to Lamar, something's wrong. And so I go running back toward the back, and where his house, with the house that he was staying, our VIP house, was a long distance from my office. So I'm running down hallways and all this kind of stuff. And there's like a secret entrance into the house where you can come in like through an employee entrance, but people don't know it's there, this door. And so I pop in the door, and the door opens into the master bedroom. And so I get in that door, and he's on the bed on his back. And
I forgot to ask you that. I was just was he dressed?
No, he had a t-shirt.
Just a t-shirt?
On. He had boxers on.
Okay, I was like, was he 4? Just the shirt? No,
shirt and socks.
Legos on the side.
Right.
So just shirt, undies.
Yeah. So
terrible white socks.
So I jump up on the bed, and I'm immediately looking at him and feeling him like he's cold and kind of purplish. I mean, it was immediately evident something was very wrong with him.
We have foam coming out. So I'm thinking Pulp Fiction here.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man, do something.
He also was snoring like insanely loud, like something's wrong snoring, like coma type, just kind of
coke. Wasn't it? I thought what the problem wasn't it the over-counter?
Well, we'll get to that. So that's where I'm headed. So as I'm sitting on him, I tell her, okay, tell me what all he's taking. And you hear this on the 911 call. I mean, that's out there publicly now. You can, everything I'm telling you can hear me say on the 911 call. So I said, what's he taking? And she goes, well, he drank like 3/4 that bottle of Cavassier or whatever sitting on the nightstand.
Fancy. fancy as
and
fuck.
I'm like, okay, but it's been 3 days and he's a giant, so
That's
maybe not that big of a deal.
What else,
Yeah,
lady?
yeah, exactly. And she goes, well,
He ate an apple? God damn it. What else?
Yeah, exactly. And
Well,
she
he had
goes,
3 grapevines. All right, you know what? Get the fuck out of here.
and so she goes, welcome to my job.
Yeah,
she goes,
I can imagine.
she goes, he said that before he got here, he had done a small amount of cocaine. I was like, okay, so, relay that to the 911 operator. Then she said, and he took some of these, and she holds up this packet, and it's a big room, so it's like I can't really see what she's holding up, and I go, throw me that. And so she throws me this thing, and I look at it, and it's this herbal Viagra supplement called Reload. It's packaged in a red pill. So I read the milligram dosage to the 911 operator on the phone, turn it over, and all that, and it said like, no more than 1 every 24 hours or something like that. And I said, how many of these has he taken? And she's like, I think like 10 or 12. So he was just eating
Popping them like Skittles,
candy.
and his foot-long dick was just rock hard for 72 hours.
Right.
That's what it did, huh?
Yeah, I
Those
thought he
Viagras
was
did
just
it.
happy to see me, but I
No.
was like, yeah,
I couldn't put him
I
on
know
his
when you
stomach.
saw him, it was like, you're like, all right, get your
Right.
dick out. It was like this mic. You're like, all right, well, I'm just gonna. Good Lord, man.
So
This color too, by the way.
that turned out to be a real source of the problem because this stuff had been like banned by the FDA.
Is
The
it
company was out
that
of
mixed
business.
with the other drugs?
Yeah,
What did it?
Yeah. And so he had basically had a series of strokes when all this had happened. A little time passes, an hour or whatever. I'm sitting in the emergency room, waiting room, and I'm thinking to myself, like, as much as this guy had going on for him in his life, this is what it's come down to.
The dick pills, these
He's in
herbal
the hospital.
dick
The guy
pills.
doesn't even know.
Basically.
I mean, you're basically the guy he's going to die
Right.
with, and you guys.
Right. Out in the middle of nowhere, right? And so then,
dang.
okay, so now they've got him somewhat stabilized. They decide they're going to fly him to Vegas, care flight him for better care. They get him outside. They start trying to load him in the helicopter. He won't fit on the helicopter.
No one thought about this?
I guess not. And so I'm watching them like try to, I can't
Fold
get him
his
on here.
legs and shit?
Yeah. And so they end up driving him to Vegas.
Which is
And-
how far?
An hour. Yeah.
Dude, we're talking about precious time.
Yeah,
there.
and I mean, I was convinced at the time that he probably wouldn't make it. So we get back. I get back to the brothel. Sheriff's there, and the sheriff goes, "Okay, prepare for." They said, all this media is driving from L.A. right now, like all these satellite trucks,
Like
are
the
driving from
gold
LA.
rush to San Francisco.
Exactly.
They are
Yeah.
fucking flying.
Yeah, and they said they're going to be here at like 4 a.m. Just get ready, And so I stayed there overnight at the brothel. Sure enough, 3 or 4 a.m. Here come like headlights. You can just see them coming down the road, and they lined the road outside the brothel with the satellite towers and everything, the antennas for like 3 days, and it was just nonstop media. So
basically saved his life.
Well, I hope that eventually there's a chance to have a conversation because hopefully I'm sure I may never have that experience again, and it's just like you want to talk to the person who was on the other side of that, and if not help them. I mean, just tell them, man, let me tell you. Let me give you my perspective.
At
of
least
what
send
happened.
Richard a box of fucking chocolates, your new makeup, something, Kardashians. Otherwise, this guy's not around.
Yeah, well, I just like to talk to him, but it was I tell you this, I thought I would live my whole life and never have anybody cast to play me in a reenactment. But that I have now
that's
seen
happening.
that.
Oh, you have seen
it
it?
was like on Court TV or one of those shows.
Sick. Did the guy
Yeah.
look like you at all?
He looked equally sort of deplorable. You know what I mean?
It looked like a messed up Chris Angel type
Yes.
character.
Yeah, but a little lazy on the particulars. Like
man.
I must say selfishly, I would like to talk to the casting director.
You know what? But I wouldn't take it personal. It's the budget. They're
Sure,
like, well, all right, it kind of looks like him.
Yeah. It was, but so I had that experience.
Dude, amazing story. Brilliant story.
Working at a brothel will get you some good stories. We were taping on the way down and telling some, so it's not a one-off. Phone booth fighting is equal parts MMA talk. And I always tell people when I'm not breaking down fights between mixed martial artists, I'm refereeing fights between hookers.
They get into it, huh?
And some days that's the more compelling contest is those two.
I dig it. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah.
This is the Fine Kid with the phone booth fellas, that's the way I'm going to end this. Phone booth fellas, we're out.
So we were just talking about how we always love doing Fighter and the Kid, and they're awesome, but Frank was pointing out, and correctly so, that the brothel is a source of can't-miss entertainment.
Well, how many other people in the world legally work? You know?
That's a good point.
It's just, it's interesting. I mean, you think being a fighter is unusual.
Yeah.
Your job definitely is more unusual than mine.
Yeah, it's like being a night nurse at the ER, but with fucking. Very successful appearance on Fighter and the Kid, thanks to, except they were just the Fighter today, Frank.
I think
Fighter
Brian's going to be pretty angry he missed that one.
Yeah, well, Brendan has already hit me up with a text for a return visit. So he's like, when you guys want to come back?
Nice.
So, yeah, so we'll definitely be doing that. Every time Frank and I come to LA, I bring him to Doomy's Vegan Home Cooking Restaurant because they have the vegan Big Mac burgers. Frank and I both love them. We think it's some of the best burgers we've ever had. And of course, I'm secretly trying to convert him to being a vegan. Now, I'm just about done with my double patty Big Mac burger with the animal style fries. Frank actually ordered and completely consumed 2 of them. 4 patties, 2 buns, and an order of animal style fries, and now he has ended up on the exact same couch here at Doomy's that he ends every meal on when we come here.
Food coma.
Everybody was kung fu